Order of operations. Most of you have done please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It works, but there's a few weird things about it. Like P for please stands for parentheses. If we look at our step 1, we evaluate expressions inside grouping symbols. I'm usually going to use the word grouping symbols because if you just say parentheses, you're limiting it to just those. We have a lot of different grouping symbols, so keep in mind if you use please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses talks about all types of grouping symbols, which can include parentheses. It can include brackets, which are boxier parentheses. It can include braces, which are curvy and we use for set notation. We also have absolute value symbols, which you've seen before, but you haven't quite seen to the level where there's expressions inside the absolute value. You have to make sure you simplify what's inside those grouping symbols first before evaluating your expression. And the other one we want to talk about is the fraction bar. Well, you'll have an expression in the numerator, an expression in the denominator. You have to simplify those first. So simplify your numerator, simplify the denominator, then you can divide. Good to go. Please excuse, E would be exponents, also known as powers. Exponents, powers, they're the same room. So that would look like this. If we had 3 to the 4th power. So this little 4 is our exponent. The whole thing is our powers. That's why they a little bit of different terminology there. Be careful. That's not 12. It's repeated multiplication. That 3 is repeated 4 times. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is being multiplied together. So we have 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So watch out for your exponents. Then we have, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So my dear, a lot of students think that multiplying has to go first before division. Well, no, they're inverse operations of each other. They're opposites. They cancel each other out. We do whichever of those comes first, left to right. We start from the left, work our way to the right. Any multiplication or division you see. If the division is first, that's what you do first. You just work your way from left to right. Same thing with Aunt Sally. You add or subtract, depending on which one comes first, left to right. Just like we read a book, we start from the left, work our way to the right. Same idea. So we're going to practice this, which most of you are familiar with. We're going to go through our order of operations here. So we're going to do these guided practice questions together. So here we go. If we look at this, we have no grouping symbols. We have no exponents. We do have multiplication or division. We have multiplication, so we can do 42 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. We didn't even have to carry anything, so we get 84. A lot of students try to do mental math and then start to add and subtract. We're at the level where we need to be writing it out and bringing things down. So when you simplify just that part, bring down the plus sign, bring down the 3, bring down the minus over here and the 5 over here. That way we stay organized with our work so we don't get lost. We need to be organized. From here, we have no more multiplication or division, so it's our final step, addition and subtraction. Now we do the addition because it's furthest to the left. So we're going to do that 3 plus 84 first, which is 87. And then we have our 87 minus 5, which leaves us with 82. Easy. This one, do we have any grouping symbols? No. Exponents? There it is. This 8 squared is what we're going to do first. There are 2 8s, so we have 8 and 8. Now be careful. It's repeated multiplication. So we are multiplying 8 times 8, which is 64. Then we're going to bring everything else down. We're bringing down the minus, the 7, the times, and the 11 over here to the right. And we're bringing down the plus, the 7, the negative 17. and the 20. All right, next, we have our exponents taken care of, so the next thing we're looking for is multiplication or division. We have one. So we're going to do our multiplication next. So we have and try to see it, try to look at this as a negative 7 times 11. Do you see how it's a negative 7 times 11? If you can start to see it that way, it's going to help you later on. Now, true, either way you look at it, it will work for this unit. You could do 7 times 11 and bring down the negative. 7 times 11, bring down the subtraction sign. Or you can do a negative 7 times 11, which gives us negative 77, and then bring down your 64. Is it weird? At first, but if you get used to it, it will help you later on. All right, so we brought everything else down. From here, we have addition and subtraction. Well, we have to work our way left to right. We're at the same level, addition and subtraction. So we're going to work our way from left to right because that's all we have. So we're going to do our subtraction here first. 20 minus 7. We have 13. Bring down the plus, the 64, and the negative 77. From here, we're going to do the addition next because it's left to right. So we have 13 plus 64 would give us 77. So we have 77 minus 77. 77 minus 77? 0. Not so bad. Not so bad. All right, so we did that practice here. We're going to try some more complicated ones. Ooh, they look more complicated. So this time we have grouping symbols. So we're going to make sure to do our grouping symbols first. We're going to start with our parentheses here. And this one, it does happen to be parentheses. 10 minus 8 is 2. I'm going to leave those parentheses holding the 2 because we have this 4 right next to it. We don't want to forget that's multiplication. Could you put the dot? Sure. Just like this dot over here for the times 5, you could do the dot. I'm going to leave it as parentheses though. And we're going to have a plus 20 over here. Now that we have our grouping symbols done, some people will be like, oh, groupings, we're going to do 4 times 2. Well, there's other properties that make that okay at this point. But technically, within the grouping symbol, 2 is done. So we can move on. So 2 is done. Next, we're going to go multiplication is next. Oh, exponents, but we don't have any of those. So we're going to multiply left to right. So we have our 5 times 4 is 20. And then we have our 2 in the parentheses plus 20. And again, we don't have grouping symbols, anything within there. There's just a 2. It's done. So we move to exponents. We don't have any. Multiplication, 20 times 2 is 40. Bring that down, the plus 20. And our final addition here gives us our answer. So we evaluated our expression. Our next one has grouping symbols, 2 sets of them. So we start here with our brackets. So we're going to simplify within the brackets first. So within those brackets, we're going to simplify that first before we get to the minus 15 and the plus 6. So within here, we have 3 minus 2 is 1 squared. We have our bracket plus 10. I'm going to bring everything down just to make sure we don't lose anything along the way. From here, we did our grouping symbols. Now within the grouping symbols, we're still in our brackets. Inside the grouping symbols, they're still grouping symbols of parentheses. But again, this set of parentheses is just holding the 1. So we move to exponents. Ooh, we have 1 squared, which would be our 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. We bring down our plus, our 10. And since we only have 1 set of parentheses, I like to de-escalate my parentheses. The brackets are higher levels, so we work within those first, and then we get to the parentheses. So they can turn into parentheses. That's one option. And you'll see me do that a lot. I know a lot of students don't like that, and that's okay. So you can just leave them as brackets. That's fine. My brackets get a little curvy. Let's try to fix that there. Ooh, that's better. That's boxier. Plus 6, and then we have a minus 15. All right, from here, we still need to finish within the brackets first. So we have our 10 plus 1, which is 11. Once we have it down to 1, we don't need the parentheses to hold the 11. So we could just bring down our minus and our 15 and our plus 6. So we have 15 minus 11, which gives us 4. So we have our 15 minus 11 gives us 4, and then we bring down the plus, and then we bring down a 6. 4 plus 6, 10. Our next one is probably the trickiest one, only because we may not have seen one with the division symbol. Now my picture seems to be getting in the way of this, so I'm gonna close it and see if this still works. Okay, cool. So with our division bar or our fraction bar, we need to simplify our numerator and denominator. So I'm going to simplify my numerator first, and I'm going to look here and go through the order of operations. Well, the first thing we look at is grouping symbols. So in these grouping symbols here, we have a 4 plus 5. 4 plus 5 gives us 9. We'll bring down the squared. All right. Then don't forget our fraction bar. Now, you could do it separately, but since they are separated, I'm going to do one step in my denominator too. So if we look in the denominator, we have grouping symbols in there. So we can do those grouping symbols. 7 minus 4 would give us 3. But don't forget those parentheses around it to show that multiplication. Could you put a dot there? Yes. Now this is a little blurry looking. It is actually a positive 3. Those are just spots from the copy machine a few years ago. See, we have a few more spots down here, a few more spots up here. So that's not a negative. It's just a positive 3. Okay. So we have this fraction here, but we have not finished simplifying our numerator, nor have we finished simplifying our denominator. So that's what we will do. 9 squared is the same as saying 9 times 9, which is 81. So our numerator will be 81. Our denominator we can multiply because it's the only operation there. 3 times 3 is 9. Then from there, that's just division or a fraction, however you want to look at it. So we just have 81 divided by 9 gives us 9. So that's our answer. That's our answer. You might want to box your answers. There's a lot of work going on. If you have any questions, let me know.